Jim Carrey hired a CIA torture expert just to survive his Grinch makeup. Arnold Schwarzenegger spent half of 1990 suffocating inside heavy mechanical fat suits. Hollywood used to demand actual physical suffering.
Biting. Good. It's biting. Then the next one is breathing again. And the biting, no. Like this. Good. Yes.
Today, we get weightless CGI skulls just so we don't have to look at Jared Leto. At least the rubber had a soul.
Getting old sucks.
I'm officially in my 40s, and that means that my brain was permanently wired by a very specific, deeply unhinged era of Hollywood. I was raised in a golden age of foam latex and practical body horror, and no one, literally no one, was subjected to more of the bizarre, uncanny valley craftsmanship than Arnold Schwarzenegger. If you look at him, he's already built like a literal action figure. So Hollywood, for a solid decade, ripped his face off, split his head open, and turned him into a terrifying, rubbery canvas. If you grew up more recently on modern Marvel movies, you might look back at these practical effects and think they look janky or dated, and you know what? You're right. They are. They also have something that a lot of modern blockbusters are desperately missing: weight, texture, heft. The undeniable physical reality that some exhausted artist spent 40 hours in a workshop covered in toxic glue to make a fake Austrian skull look cool on camera. To understand the beauty of this era, you have to realise that directors like James Cameron and artists like Stan Winston had absolutely no money. When making the original Terminator in 1984, they weren't using multi-million-dollar rendering farms, they were MacGyvering a sci-fi masterpiece out of spare parts and hardware store supplies. Take the iconic bathroom mirror scene where Arnold is slicing his own eye out. You see this wet, pink, fleshy membrane stretched over a glowing red robotic lens. It looks incredibly visceral and organic. You know how they achieved that hyper-realistic fleshy texture? They stretched a lubricated condom over a metal light. It's the reality of 1980s blockbuster filmmaking. You don't write an algorithm for flesh physics, you send a production assistant to a pharmacy for condoms at 2 AM. For the finale, when the metal endoskeleton is dragging itself through the factory, spoiler alert, yeah, stop motion animation was too jerky for the close-ups. So Winston's lead puppeteer, Shane Mahan, literally strapped a heavy metal robot torso to his back, laid flat on the floor, and dragged himself forward by his elbows just out of frame. When you see the Terminator reaching for Sarah Connor, there's a man with 50 pounds of jagged metal strapped to his spine crawling through industrial dirt. You can practically feel the tetanus through the screen. And by the time we get to Total Recall, one of my favourite examples in 1990, the budget is bigger. It was actually the most expensive movie of all time when it was produced. Legendary effects artist Rob Bottin is treating Arnold's anatomy like a sick joke in this one. Total Recall's a masterpiece of absurdity. In the famous sequence where Arnold disguises himself as a middle-aged woman, that animatronic head was so heavy, so packed with motors, cables, just to make the face twitch, it weighed an absolute ton, and Arnold couldn't just wear it like a helmet. He was buried inside a massive fiberglass chest piece, completely blind, where a team of off-camera puppeteers frantically drove the face like a remote-controlled car, right up until the moment it split open. And of course, the Mars decompression sequence at the end of the film, Arnie's eyes bulging out of his skull, his tongue swelling up like a balloon. Modern movies would just map a digital filter over the actor's face. Bottin's team sculpted multiple oversized foam latex heads, fitted the mechanical underskulls with heavy-duty inflating bladders and pneumatic rams. When you see Arnold's face expanding, you're watching high-pressure air physically stretching rubber from the inside out to breaking point. And to build all these gags, Arnold had to endure endless live casting sessions. It's a claustrophobic nightmare that modern actors simply refuse to do anymore, opting instead to sit in a comfortable chair while a laser scans their face in 3 seconds. But the weirdness didn't stop at sci-fi violence, and that brings us to the most unintentionally terrifying thing Arnold has ever done on screen, Junior Fever Dream. You want to talk about nightmare fuel? Forget T-1000. To get and have an oversized screaming infant with a fully grown digitally composited face of a 47-year-old Austrian bodybuilder. And that's the bridge. The horrific haunting image is the canary in the coal mine. It's early, crude, digital manipulation, trying to do the job of a physical prop and failing in the most unsettling way possible. It's a warning shot of what was to come. Now look, I'm not some cynical guy yelling about how good it used to be. I don't hate CGI. Okay, when CGI is treated with respect, it's a miracle. Davy Jones in Pirates of the Caribbean in 2006, 20 years ago, it still looks flawless. Why? Because Bill Nye was physically on set, acting his heart out. The lighting was perfect, the VFX artists were given time to finish their work. The problem isn't technology, it's laziness. And that brings us perfectly to the modern tragedy of Eternia. So we've got Masters of the Universe out, and it's given us its first look at Skeletor in the trailers. And yeah, he's a fully CGI skull, surprise, surprise. We have vastly superior rendering power today than we did 30 years ago. Modern blockbusters are undeniably smoother. I will gladly take a stiff, rubbery, janky, sweat-drenched foam latex with a 1990 practical effect over a perfectly rendered weightless digital head any day of the week. The rubber one has a soul.
Would you like to know more?
Movies, popcorn.